Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Show. Great to have you back again. This is going to be the second of two episodes with Nancy O'Keefe, who was our guest. And we had the first episode was very lively and informative and important. So we're going to do the same for the second episode. Nancy O'Keefe is the founder of Women's Leadership U. And she's also a business coach, author, radio host, speaker. Mm-hmm. She helps creative business owners. That's the ones who have a lot of blood flowing through their brains, right? And struggling for clients, but still do creative work. That's interesting. It makes your work very interesting.
It's fun.
And consulting plus implementation. It's great to consult, but implementation is everything.
Absolutely.
So, welcome, Nancy. I'm a co-host of the show, Bill Fox. The other co-host is, and get this, the dynamic, the electric, the efficacious, the effulgent Coach Robbins.
Mr. Bill, how are you? That's how he starts off all the time. I knew one of those words. I'm not sure which one.
So we're going to, the presentation we're going to be doing this time with Nancy is why haven't women made more progress in the workplace? And we're going to start, Coach, with, let's see, our first slide is going to be for the last 40 years. So we want to start there.
That's a good place to start. 1960s, 70s, yeah. 70s.
Yeah, your display is that there are more women attending college. I'd say not only more, but there's a lot. I say
More than half of the students that I had at Bentley College when I was teaching at the McCallum Graduate School were women.
Right.
And smart. I mean, well, they're all smart at Bentley.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
The more women starting businesses, which is a good thing. Most jobs, but many jobs are still in the so-called quote, female professions. Although now that aren't women in the no, they're not in the SEALs yet, are they? They're in the.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they in the
I
SEALs?
think they are, yeah.
How do you like that?
Still
Not seen, not as much seen, or say heard or taken seriously. Opportunities still somewhat scarce. Women earning across the board about 80 cents on the dollar. That's equivalent jobs. I mean, a job role, for education, the criteria for being successful at that job, say being equal, but the women get 80 cents, the men get $1. Is that?
That's what the statistics say,
yeah.
yes.
It's illegal, and I hate it.
Anyway, that's a mouthful. What do you?
If I may just talk about this one, most jobs still in female professions, meaning there are some jobs that lend itself to females, like a school teacher, because they're in school when the kids are in school. Is that a better job for
Yes,
them?
they just tend to have more females in those jobs.
Because the woman wants to be home in the summer, and the woman wants to get home early in the afternoon. It makes sense, though.
Or they've been traditionally staffed by females.
Yeah.
Like nursing, and although that's changing, everything's changing, but
Yeah.
we're still predominantly seeing women go after jobs
Yeah.
that are traditional female jobs.
Yeah, right, yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
If that's what they want to do. Like, all of my wife's one of 13 children.
Wow.
And her 6 sisters, all teachers in high school. And that's because they wanted to have a family, and it really did lend itself well to a very difficult job of having a job and trying to take care of a family.
And teaching is a fine profession.
It's perfect for somebody that wants to.
And we need people that are going to teach our children,
Absolutely.
what they need to know. So that's so important.
Absolutely, right.
That would be nice.
And of course, you could tell the woman I'm married to didn't go that road. She's a psychotherapist.
But in my background, I was 30 years in the manufacturing industry.
Right.
That means a lot of engineering people, mechanical and electrical engineering. I mean, if I saw, I don't even know 2 or 3 women over a 30-year period in engineering. That's my personal experience, and I don't know. I just know what I know. But also, and sales, I mean, traveling sales, selling equipment. How many women were doing that? Like zero.
Right.
There were no females I'm an electrical engineer, I call it my misspent youth. There were no women in electrical engineering back then. I didn't think, and that's the 60s, of course. But I think if you look today, you'll find there are a lot
Yes.
more.
In the past, women were not directed toward the math and sciences in
Hmm.
school, so they didn't get the background, so they didn't
That's
even
what you need, too,
they
yeah.
didn't even consider those
Right.
professions.
Home ec.
Home ec, yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, that was good. I learned a few things in home ec, but
But, women not seen, heard, taken seriously, opportunity scarce. In general, women earning 80 cents on the dollar for equivalent job performance or opportunity and abilities.
yeah,
So
and women
that's
make
not
up
great.
about 50% of the workforce
Right now,
today.
yeah.
50, right.
They are about between 60 and 75% of the students in colleges across the country.
Right.
And they start about 37% of the businesses that are started every year. And believe it or not, that is actually down from 40% a few years ago. So for some reason, they're starting fewer businesses, but not appreciably.
Yeah. Well, that's quite a large number, though, over a national survey. Wow.
On your second display, you said women second-class wage earner because they want to be ? Or is that a question or?
Well, that really kind of my premise is that I think women are second-class wage earners because they really want to be. They don't want maybe to be consciously, but subconsciously, they do things to sabotage themselves. And I don't really believe it's just a gender issue, or there certainly isn't a lack of opportunity, because as I work with business owners, they struggle to find competent people to hire.
Yeah.
There's a terrible hiring.
There is.
It's really.
Competent being the operative adjective.
Right, so, and, wage gap, yes, there is a wage gap, but is it a wage gap issue, or is that a symptom of another issue? And I think that women need to embody the value of being independent. I think everyone ought to be able to earn a living and support themselves.
Absolutely.
You never know what life is going to throw at you. I was widowed at 38 years old. So, and when I was 38, that was, when women couldn't even get credit without a husband.
Right.
There was no such thing as a MasterCard and Visa. I mean,
That's
the
right.
things have come a long way.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to support yourself. And
Yes.
you need to be able to have the skills to do that.
Right. Absolutely. I agree totally. Yeah. Yeah, there was some book that was written or research done that why aren't there more women CEOs in corporate America? Because they don't want to be.
Right.
They are the ones that are going to have children. That's not going to change
No,
ever.
that's not going to change.
And they're not interested in putting in 60 hours and traveling and being home, never home. And some guys do want that, and I never did. I just chose. I'm not a road warrior. That's not
But
something.
some guys would like to stay home
Some
and
guy-
have never had that
I'm
opportunity.
one. I didn't want that. That's why I started my own businesses and bought my own. I mean, I had opportunities to go with some larger companies, to go with a large consulting company, quite frankly, and they said to me, yes, you will leave on a Sunday night, come home 2 weeks later and introduce yourself to your children, and ha ha ha, big joke, I'm
Right.
out of here. Thank you, but no thank you. Because I never missed any of my kids skating, girls skating. I coached
Right.
softball, my girls, I never missed any of that
And
stuff.
that's wonderful.
I
And
own my own business, so I could do that.
it presents as a gender issue.
Yeah.
But really, it really comes down to what you want.
It's a choice, life
It's a
choice issue.
choice.
Absolutely.
Make a choice.
Yeah, right.
Your next slide, Nancy says, some women settle, quote, settle, unquote.
Yeah.
Strong stereotypes, social norms,
Well-
going against the grain is tough. Could you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about this slide?
And this has to do, everything to do with the choice. There really isn't a lack of opportunity. You can make more money if you're qualified and you ask for what you want. And you just need to be tough in terms of going against the grain. It's scary to be a pioneer. It's scary to go
course
out
it
there
is,
and
yeah.
do something that isn't on the well-worn path.
Right.
And, maybe some people are going to accept you and like you, and there are going to be some that don't. So the workplace can be very harsh when you're trying to advance. And I think in some cases we worry about being liked more than we should.
Yeah.
And we're not willing to put ourselves out there and risk not being liked and having some ridicule or making it tough for ourselves. So that's what I mean by settling.
Yeah.
You know, careers take a lot of effort. They're not 9 to 5. No career is a 9 to 5 job. If you're
Absolutely
really
not.
serious about it, and if you are a business owner, you're lucky if you get to work 60 hours, because it could be more like 75 or 80. It's not
Absolutely.
for the faint of heart.
Absolutely.
When I started to work, we worked a 35-hour work week.
Right.
Somehow we didn't have computers. We got everything done, and we went home and had dinner with our families.
Right.
Then it went up to 37 and a half, then 40, and now the routine is 50,
50 hours
55.
on standard,
So, you know, we could all take a look at that, because our productivity hasn't increased all that much for all
With
the
all
extra
of the
hours.
technology,
And
right.
we have all this technology, so we're doing something wrong.
Right.
But anyway, that's another story for another day. So if you want a career, leadership carries responsibility, and you've got to be willing to step into that responsibility. And choices take willingness to risk, and you've got to be willing to risk.
I've always operated on the formula, being a amateur mathematician, if you will, SW cubed over N. Some will, some won't, so what, who's next, you know?
Exactly right.
That's all.
Right.
The next slide, you tell us why women make poor choices. Belief in life is a storybook fairy tale, lack of self-knowledge. So tell us about this slide, will you?
Well, some people are led to believe that they're going to meet their Prince Charming, and you know everything's going to be great after that. Life is not a storybook fairy tale. Life is hard. We all have stuff that gets thrown in our path. I don't care who you are, where you
Right.
come from.
That's right.
And women, I believe, have a lack of self-knowledge. They don't understand what they stand for. We're very nurturing, and we like
Yeah.
to put others first. We like to help each other, and that's a great characteristic to have. But we also have to help ourselves. We have to know what we really want. We have to be willing to look at our reality and make choices about what we want. We're reluctant often to put ourselves first. We put everyone else first, and then we're an afterthought. How many women spent, their lifetime in their family raising children, had wonderful experiences? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I have 2 children of my own and 4 grandchildren. But at the end of that, when they became empty nesters, many of them felt very lost
Yeah.
because there was nothing else. And the people that they were caring for were no longer there to be cared for in the same way for the same number of
Right.
hours. And then it was a big struggle to get out there and find something else fulfilling and rewarding to do.
My wife's practice is with women in transition. That is her practice, and a big piece of that is the empty nester. The kid's gone off. He's even gone through college, and now he's in California, and they feel lost.
Yeah.
And a lot of her practice was with that, but she also has an expression, put your own oxygen mask on first.
Exactly.
You are no value to anybody unless you and in the airplane, they
Love
tell
that,
you,
yeah.
put your oxygen mask on and then help your child.
Right.
Because if you don't have your oxygen mask on and you pass out, you're in trouble.
I love that.
You're both in
That's
trouble.
great. That's
Yeah.
great.
She's got some good sayings.
Your next slide, Nancy, says their own worst enemy. Question. This talks about women sabotaging themselves. My gosh, or sabotaging other women. Don't understand competition. Tell us about this slide, will you?
Please,
Well,
yeah.
women really don't understand competition. Some of that might come from the fact that we weren't involved in the team
Sports, yeah.
But for men, you compete to win. Pretty
Yeah.
plain and
Oh,
simple.
yeah.
You compete to win. I don't think women really understand that. When we compete, it's almost as important that the person we're competing against lose as it is that we win. There's been a lot of articles written about perhaps this is a biological thing because we're competing for men to perpetuate the human race. I don't know any of that. That's not my field, but I do know that women do sabotage themselves by the language they use. They sabotage themselves by settling, not asking for what they want,
Yeah.
not valuing
speaking up,
themselves,
right.
not understanding their value, and being able to communicate it to
Get
those
back to
that need their
communication,
service.
Nancy, right, yeah.
And they have no good old boys network. There's no good old gals network. We don't have a lot of people in high places that we can use as mentors that are female. And that is a big missing component for women.
There are some industries that.
There are some,
Yeah.
and it's getting better.
And it is getting better, thank God, yeah, right.
But we have to, as women, be willing to pull other women along with us.
Absolutely,
And when we make strides, then we have to help others make strides as well.
absolutely.
Your next slide is independent or dependent, question mark. Happiness outside of self or in someone else, or happiness outside of self or in someone else will not work. Prince Charming does not exist. I remember,
Well,
remember
with
that,
my exception,
that
maybe.
movie-
Present company excluded.
a movie with Jack Nicholson was this is as good as it gets or whatever.
Yeah,
Movie
yeah.
and he's pursuing a woman and who lives with her mother. And at one point the woman says, "Why can't I just get a boyfriend who's normal?" And right behind her, her mother says, "Dear, that doesn't exist."
Well, it's really, this is the choice you need to make. Do you want to be independent? Do you want to be able to take care of yourself? Now, there's nothing wrong with being married. I've been married, except twice. And, you know, men are wonderful. I have been so blessed in my life to have two wonderful men, one that passed away and the one I'm with now, and we have a wonderful life together. So I'm all for that. But you still need to be able to take care of yourself.
But you're dependent, obviously, and then he's probably very comfortable with that too.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you know we
My
work
wife's independent.
together, you know, and it's just it's a solid partnership, and that's
Okay.
what you really want to get. Because sadly enough, 50% of marriages end in divorce today.
I know.
And you know, it doesn't make any difference what the situation is, but you may find yourself needing to be able to support you and perhaps your family.
Maybe a child, yeah,
So you need to be prepared.
absolutely.
Financial independence is key, and more choices come with financial independence.
Absolutely. Well, Prince Charming does exist. I mean, obviously you married one and my wife did, but other than that, I'm not too sure about
Not in my case.
That's true, though. I love
Your
it.
next slide is more, it's you're digging deeper, drilling down, as they say, more into independent or dependent. You're touching here on this slide on domestic violence. That's a pretty tough issue. But what do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I was shocked by this first statistic. You know, we're all acutely aware of what's going on over in the Middle East. And we've lost around 6,500 Americans in Afghanistan and Iraq. And yet at home here, we've had twice that many murdered by their partners in that same time period in domestic violence. That is a staggering statistic that's, to me, very scary.
Yeah.
There's 4.5 million women that are victims of physical domestic violence. That's not even counting the emotional or the financial or
Oh, yeah,
any of that.
emotional can be awful.
And a woman is beaten every 9 seconds. 1 in 4 women will suffer some form of domestic physical abuse in their lifetime. 1 in 4. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want that to happen to my daughter. We have got to end this.
Better
And
not.
the key to ending domestic violence is for women to have some financial
Exactly, so
independence.
they can walk out, get the hell out.
So that they can get out if they need to get out. There's
Right.
lots of wonderful agencies that exist to help. But once you get out, you've got to be able to pick up the ball and support
and
yourself.
do it
Right,
yourself. Are you
right.
familiar with We Can?
I am,
I do
yes.
a lot of work
yeah.
with Andy and those folks, fabulous. So.
Yeah.
Now, my wife is, she decided to do the 60-mile bike, you know, I forget what they call it, Last Gasp. And when she first started to train, she bought, I don't know, a $50,000 bike, I don't know what it was, weighed about 1.5 ounces.
Yeah.
And she put these clip-ins in, and she had to learn to use the clip-ins. And of course, she fell over many, many times. Well, she was taking a shower one day, and I looked at her. She's black and blue from here to there. And I said to her, honey, if you call the cops, I'm doing 6 to 10.
Yeah.
I mean, she's black and blue.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well,
I mean,
it's so bad. When you go to the hospital today, the emergency room, as a woman, they will check your body to be sure you're not bruised.
Really? Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
disgusting.
So women, you know, if you're financially independent, you have more
You
choices.
you have the ability to
you
say,
have,
I'm not going to
right.
put up with this.
Right. You have more choices.
It does really, you're absolutely right.
have
With
more
financial
choices.
independence, they could say, I'm out of here.
Right.
You know?
It's not easy to get away always, but you can at least support
Yeah.
yourself.
And further, your next slide is yet further into the independent or dependent issue. This one apparently deals with poverty. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, there are 12 million single-parent households. Some are men, some are women. 81% of them, however, are women. And 45% of those live below the poverty level. Again, we've got to get the skills up. We've got to understand our value. We've got to
Yeah.
get out there and ask for the money we deserve
You
that
bet.
is commensurate with the value we bring in the marketplace. And we've got to step it up because this is a very sad statistic in the United States of America that we
Yeah.
would have that many people living in poverty.
That's far too many, especially in this country.
So the next slide talks about the pathway to real progress is skills.
Yes,
You bet.
Is
I
what
really believe
your
that.
theme here.
And
That's a ticket out.
really, it is.
And this is a progressive item here. This is skills and ability to earn a living equals marketability. Marketability equals independence. Independence, real choices. Real choices about yourself means how you feel about yourself, I guess, and how you feel about yourself equals quality of life. Quality of life equals that. It's
Right,
a-
your
This is
self,
my favorite chart of all of these. I love this one.
it's your self-worth,
The
really.
roadmap.
It's your self-worth. And,
Absolutely.
you know, that's why I started Women's Leadership U. I want to help teach women some of these skills,
Yeah.
create mastermind groups and roundtables where they can get support from other women and we can build those collaborations together so we can pull each other up. And I also do that radio show, as you mentioned. It's When Opportunity Knocks on Blog Talk Radio. It's really for women business owners, and it's ways for them to increase what they're doing, increase their value in the marketplace,
Right.
understand their value. So it's really all about providing venues that women can tap into, resources available
Right.
to them to help
Absolutely.
solve some of these problems.
Absolutely.
By the way, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but you know, you and I were in a social media class. Actually, I went to the class with you, but I went to another one before that. They were both classes dealt with social media, introduction to, and so forth. But my point is, of those two classes, the huge majority in there were women. I mean, I guess, is that an area, have you seen, is that an area where women excel, is in social media? I mean, is there a
No.
thing going on there? or-
I haven't seen that. There's a lot of firms that specialize in social media that are, you know, male firms.
HubSpot?
Yeah,
A lot of men?
there's a lot of smaller firms too. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a gender issue.
No.
Technology is, you know, either you're a techno geek or you're not. It's kind
Yeah,
of, you know,
right, yeah.
either you like technology or you don't.
Right.
I happen to love technology, but
I love it when it works,
Right.
but when Murphy strikes and the black screen of death comes on, I get very angry.
What I wanted to do was I wanted to go, I wanted to actually backtrack for a minute back to this idea of women being their own worst enemy and a lack of strong network and contact in high places. That's an issue, but I mean, if you're speaking to women, what do you say? Say you lack a strong network. What do you do?
well, we've got to build it. We've got to build it, and it's not going to happen overnight.
That takes time.
It takes time
And effort.
As we talked about in the last show, you know, in 15 years or so, we're going to have all these opportunities. Now is the time to start preparing for those.
Absolutely.
Now, and building those networks so we can start to get the traction that we need to fill those positions and to be in a position to be mentored by people that are female.
Now, one of the, you got excuse me.
That's okay.
I'm trying to think, well, of course, there's a Chamber of Commerce. That would be an obvious one. I mean, if you can wheedle your way into a Chamber of Commerce, they have the meet and greet sessions.
They have,
typically.
Plymouth Chamber of Commerce has a Women Mean,
Women Mean
M-E-A-N,
business,
It's once a month. It's a luncheon. I mean, I go from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm not a woman. And they're fabulous. And there's a dozen guys there as well as 80 women, and they're meeting people, and they're doing the things they've got to do to be successful in their
Yeah.
careers.
I'm the president of the South Shore Women's Business Network
There you
this
go.
year.
Another one.
We had an event last evening. We had 100 people there, men and women. We love
Hey, man.
men to come too.
Yeah.
It was a fabulous networking event, and we do a lot to empower women. We're going to be actually working on some of these issues like domestic violence and homeless women, and
Good.
trying to improve some of those situations in a small way on the South Shore. But yeah, I mean, this is a problem that we have in our communities and in our societies, and we just need to do something about it. But we can't wait for someone else to do something
You
about
need to
it.
be proactive.
We have to be proactive, and
Right.
women need to step up and help each other solve these problems.
But there also,
Needed
there's women have to either find out about or look out for or seek. There are other group situations that make it easy to get together and network. I belong to the one here in Bourne. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's a small business people, men and women, which is a networking thing.
A BNI or?
BNI.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, BNI, that's formal networking, and it's
Yeah.
structured. It's a great way to learn how to network.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But that's, I'm just I'm grasping, but there are, if you make it a point and look, they're out there, there's plenty of group opportunities to join and to meet
Yeah,
and
there
network
definitely are
with
today.
people. So it's not as if women have nowhere to go. I mean, there
No.
are things that can be
places to go.
done.
And if I could just add one other thing on the sabotage issue. I have a blog article out on my website, simplesmallbusinesssolutions.com, about how women sabotage themselves. And there's a free download you can get that will help you with that too. So
Very good. Okay.
Good. Well, Nancy, thank you again.
thanks for having me.
We had to move fast because the show was time limited. So, but I think we got a lot in.
We got a ton in.
And again, thank you very much for
Thank you.
contributing to the show and making a good show. Two great episodes.
And it was great to be at the table with a couple of Prince Charmings.
Well, thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for watching Fox Robbins Business Show. And feel free to send comments to foxrobbins@gmail.com. Friendly comments.
Friendly, right?
Okay. And we will see you next time.